streets are talking. You are now listening to The Box Out, Tri-State area basketball talk at its best. And now your hosts, Kahlil Thomas and Jason Cordner. Let's get it.
From NJ to BK and the world, this is The Box Out here on the One Podcast Network YouTube channel. My name is Kahlil Thomas. Joining me in just a few minutes will be Jason Cordner from Brooklyn, New York. And a lot to get to. Let's get into this before we get to NBA All-Star starters that were announced tonight. A shocking move, I guess you can say shocking. The Milwaukee Bucks, at the time of this news, 30-13, second best record in the East, under first-year head coach Adrian Griffin. Griffin was fired after 43 games in his first season with Milwaukee. It honestly was a move that you kind of expected after the season was over, not so much when, the season's in progress and your team is, 17 games above 500 and playing well. But Griffin just did not fit with Milwaukee, did not fit with the culture, did not fit with Giannis. Giannis really didn't look happy most of the time this season. So he's let go. So shout out to Adrian Griffin, Seton Hall Pirate. He is no longer employed. Out goes Griffin. In comes the legendary Jace Doc Rivers, who gets the job. 4 years, $40 million to coach the Milwaukee Bucks. And the caption on our show on YouTube, and I put it out there, and people said I was a little spicy. I asked the question: is Doc Rivers the biggest coaching con man in NBA history? Here's why. Griffin was going to get fired. This was his job to lose, unless if Milwaukee won a championship, kind of like when he won a championship a couple years ago and saved Mike Budenholzer's job. If Milwaukee would have advanced and won a championship, Adrian Griffin would have kept his job. He was going to get let go. It just wasn't a good mix. Terry Stotts, who was his top assistant, left before the season even started. So automatically people were asking questions like, what happened? You let an experienced coach go, and as a rookie coach, you want that experience on your bench. So people were already asking questions. Defensively, Milwaukee was terrible. And I think they became a defensive liability when they lost Drew Holiday and brought in Dame Lillard. So automatically you knew the defensive end of the floor, the quality was going to go down because Dame Lillard is not even close to the defender that Drew Holiday was or is. I feel like he's one of those coaches, Adrian Griffin, is suited for younger players. He's someone that you would go to a team that's rebuilding, an OKC, a San Antonio, a Charlotte, who he can get the best from. Not a team full of veterans who's like, we're here to win titles. We're not going to listen to you bitch and moan and kvetch about whatever. As I bring in Jason Cordner from Brooklyn, New York. Jay, shocking news about Adrian Griffin getting fired.
I mean, I wasn't too shocked. I was more shocked at how quickly, all right, you're fired. Doc Rivers, line one. I was really shocked about that.
Yeah, so we bring in Doc Rivers, and, you saw the question I posed. Is Doc Rivers the biggest coaching con man in NBA history? Here's why I say that. And, Basketball Reference will save your life, okay? Only once was he NBA Coach of the Year. That was his rookie season coaching. I think we were
Orlando, right?
Yep. One title. That was with Boston. That was the Boston team with Garnett, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen. So that was a stacked team. So, you can't really put that to, Doc Rivers is a great coach. I think, Doc Rivers had a hella team, and that's how he became Doc Rivers. A career winning percentage of .590, which, it's good. A career playoff winning percentage of .516. One NBA championship and 2 conference titles. The Clippers didn't do anything. Philly didn't do anything. So essentially, you're gauging his career from Boston and just Boston. That one title is essentially lifted him up to where he is now. should he be getting all this credit and like, oh, we should get Doc Rivers. He's going to save our franchise from the evil Adrian Griffin who just wanted to coach this team.
To be fair, who else are you going to bring in right now? That lies the problem. Who else could you have got off the couch? Again? Did I go that route?
They could. They can bring in Buds one more time.
Maybe. So,
Bruce actually agrees with me in this one. Bruce, shout out. Bruce, by the way, Bruce, 2 weeks in a row on the same day. So let's shout that out, okay? Doc is a con man, period. He should teach Con 101. Mr. Styles P, what's going on? Thanks for checking in on YouTube. Appreciate it.
But what's worse?
Listen, I just don't see.
What was worse? Find out Doc was the new coach, or finding out at the same time he was consulting the whole time?
I didn't know that. That was news to me that Doc was a consultant. So essentially, you're consulting for the team and the coach that got fired, and you're like, I can do it, and you step in for him. That's crazy to me.
That's yeah.
But is Doc Rivers a good coach? Let's. I think we have to ask that question. Is Doc Rivers the coach that if you own the franchise and you're like, we need a coach, we need a top-notch quality coach that's going to lead us to the promised land and bring us that title? Is Doc Rivers the first phone call you're making?
He's probably the fifth, in my opinion. But
damn,
to his credit, is he a good leader amongst men? Maybe. But listen, that one title in Boston, like you said, it was a stacked team. Those guys probably didn't even need a coach. He did change the culture in LA with the Clippers. I'll give him that. And in Philly, he had Harden. If he didn't have Harden and he got to really push it the way he wanted to, between Harden and Ben Simmons, he was kind of handcuffed a little bit. So I think this Milwaukee situation will work, but at some point, their problems is defensive issues. Those guys got to buy in themselves. And I feel like Giannis, from what I'm hearing, their remaining schedule is the toughest in the league. Like we've noticed that they played nothing but cupcake schedule earlier. So maybe they felt like now's a good time to make that switch. But and then you see the comparison of Cleveland in 20.
Oh, we lost Jason.
No,
wait, Jason's back. I love you too. All right, go ahead.
So I think you see the comparison what happened with the Cavs in 2016. They thinking the same thing might happen here. I think Doc will ride the ship. I don't know if he's gonna, because I don't think this team is stacked enough to beat Boston or Philadelphia in a 7-game series. So I don't know what the coach is gonna look like going, long term, but their issues, defensive issues, they got to buy in. I don't know if Doc can solve that, but he's definitely a good voice to listen to.
Yeah, I don't. And Bruce said it in the chat. He has people skills. Like you have a player's coach, who the players respect, and who can talk to them. That's big. I'm not going to downplay that. But he also said in the same breath, Bruce, he can't do any adjustments, and he's right. Doc Rivers is not good at making adjustments in game. Like he has proven himself to be a coach where his strategy set at the beginning, and that's what you're going to run. And that's it. And why aren't you running it? Work harder. Do better. Right. And that's what it is. He's not like, okay, they're doing X, Y, and Z. We have to do A, B, and C to stop X, Y, and Z. Doc is not good at that. And you see it in the playoffs. In the playoffs, he is known, besides Chris Paul, for blowing 3-1 leads, 3-2 leads. He is known for as a coach because he's not adjusting to that team that's making that run back from a 3-1 deficit. So even with this move, I thought it's a lateral move because you get a rookie coach who was getting no buy-in from any of his players, who adjustment-wise was probably lacking because his rookie season as a head coach. And now you're going to an experienced coach who is shit at making adjustments. What's the difference?
You know what's crazy? When you look at the standings in the East, they're third. They're currently third right now, or second. No, second. They're second.
Mm-hmm. Second.
if you take the top 5, we're gonna take the top 6 teams in the East. Where would you put Doc Rivers as a coach? If you was to reshuffle the deck in terms of like the top 6 coaches in the East right now, I don't think Doc is top 3. I don't think Doc's better than Tibbs.
So you got Joe Mazzulla. You got Nick Nurse.
I think Nurse is better. We established that.
You got Tibbs. You got Tibbs. Eric Spoelstra is Spoelstra's 1. Spoelstra's number 1.
Spoelstra's absolutely.
And who coaches Cleveland again? Is that Bickerstaff?
Bickerstaff.
Yeah.
Doc could be better than
1.
Right.
Nick Nurse 2.
Nick Nurse 2. Yeah. Maybe
Tibbs 3.
Tibbs. Yeah.
Tibbs 3.
Mm-hmm.
Doc would be 4 out of the 6. So yeah, I got Doc at 4.
Oh, we forgot Rick.
It's a fight between Mazzulla and Bickerstaff.
We forgot Rick Carlisle.
Well, he's Indiana's 7 right now. Oh, if we count Carlisle moves above Doc. Yeah, if we're mentioning him, he moves above Doc. It's no contest. It's funny. ESPN fired Van Gundy for Rivers and Rivers bounced, which is funny because ESPN fired Van Gundy because they thought he was going to get a coaching job, and then bring in Rivers, and Rivers is going to get a coaching job, and now they're stuck.
Right, and I was wondering. I was like, are they going to bring back Van Gundy now? He probably. I think if I'm Van Gundy, I'm holding out to the next TV rights when Amazon them get involved and go get the bag over there. That's what I think Van Gundy should do.
Well, I think it's going to end up being Mike Breen and Doris Burke by themselves, which I'm fine.
I'm fine with that. I'm actually better with that.
Yeah, the 3-man booth is not something I've liked, whether it be sports, pro wrestling. I don't need 3 people talking. Like, just give me 2. Give me a play-by-play. Give me a color, and I'm straight. I don't need 3 people talking to me during a game. I'm good.
All right.
So I want to see how this team reacts to Doc and the change, because Adrian Griffin was an old school coach. He had this old school feel to him, and today's coaching player world, that's not a thing. No one wants to be coached old school style. Nobody wants to be coached and yelled at and called out. So you definitely get that from Doc. So is that one of those things where the players are like, all right, so the principal's gone. We have a backup principal who's here visiting for a couple weeks. Let's just bullshit and just play some ball. Or is it going to be like, we got a new coach, we got the guy out, let's play for real now?
I think it's going to be that. Let's play for real now. I mean, I've never seen a 30-13 team just coast, and everybody was like panicking.
Yeah. Doc Rivers is the Tim Scott of NBA.
Not Tim Scott. Not Tim Scott.
I'm going to cut this part of the show. I'm going to cut this part of the show and put it on X, because I think that might have been the quote of the night already. 14
Not Tim Scott.
I think
not
Bruce
Tim
wins
Scott.
per usual. To Tim Scott. By the way, totally going off topic. The Trump victory speech in New Hampshire, and Tim Scott's like standing behind him. Didn't it look like he just like, I made a terrible mistake getting into this with him?
He was way over his head.
All right, we'll stop that before we get in trouble talking about politics on the show. I feel like someone's going to call us out. Earlier this evening, we had the NBA All-Star starters, our captains. Remember, they're going back to the East-West format. For the East, you have Giannis. For the West, you have LeBron. No shit. That was, we knew that was going to happen. I'm a little pissed off about the starters. So here's for the West: LeBron, Kevin Durant, Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander start, which I'm hyped about. I'm really happy that he's getting his flowers now.
Okay, I like
really
that.
Happy about that. For the Eastern Conference, this is where I get pissed off. Giannis, Embiid, Tatum, Dame Lillard, Tyrese Halliburton. No Jalen Brunson getting the nod starting for the team. Bruce mentioned why is Dame starting over Brunson. I think Dame is the name.
Well,
so
actually,
that's why.
Well, actually, what you call it? They actually broke it down. And I saw the clip trending everywhere. They was talking about inside the NBA. They was pretty much saying that how they tied identical in terms of how it's percentage of everything now. So outside of the fans' vote, they were tied. But because of the fan vote, that's why he's over Brunson.
Just because a bunch of New Yorkers don't feel like registering for NBA ID, that's why Brunson lost out.
Listen. Pretty much. Pretty much.
Bruce mentioned in the chat he's pissed about Luka over Curry. What do you think about that selection? Remember that it's kind of positionless. They're just picking guys now.
Well, Luka's going to get the votes because he's a foreign player and they vote. So, and I think Curry. I'm not saying Curry is disappearing from the limelight, but I could see more Luka fans or more. They're not really caring about what the Warriors are looking like right now. It's kind of on the decline, so I can see it.
Bruce also said Timberwolves have the best record in the West, no starters. Listen. What do you got to say?
I was gonna say it's the we got to show the Lakers every night. If you don't got a league pass, you're barely seeing the Timberwolves. It's one of those things. So I get it. And outside of Edwards, who's probably going to be an all-star, Towns probably that's where they're going to fill up the all-star bracket. But if you don't watch them on League Pass, no one really cares from Minnesota. And it's not just Minnesota; it's like half the league. Same thing with the Thunder. The Thunder that they barely show on television.
I'm going to say something probably very unpopular right now. Tied for the best record in the West. Yes. Congratulations to them. Does it feel kind of like a Fugazi good start for Minnesota? Because I don't see them as a threat to anybody. I think they've run into some teams that they got some lucky breaks. Teams had some back-to-backs. They had caught teams on bad nights. It is a real kind of fraudish 31-13 for Minnesota.
I think. Well, you know what I think it is. It's kind of like how I feel about Orlando when they started off hot. They came back to the pack. I think Minnesota got a lot of wins, but I think come tail end of the season, they won't be the number one seed. They'll probably be 3 in the West. Because I don't think they're better than Denver. I don't think they're better than OKC. And I don't think they're better than the Clippers. So it's a very Fugazi number one seed. Very Fugazi number one seed.
And also in the chat, why is KD and LeBron starters? Obviously, obvious answer is KD and LeBron.
Yeah, it's KD and LeBron.
No other. Yeah, no other explanation for that at all.
And the All-Star game isn't. The All-Star game is in Indiana, so I get why Halliburton was definitely pushed to the forefront. Everybody in Indiana probably filled out a few ballots, more than one.
Yeah, on the life-size court in the Indiana airport, which still bugs me out seeing that all the time. No, if you look at the standings right now, and I want to talk about Brooklyn because, I watched them play some more. They played the Knicks the other night. Shout out, Knicks beat the Nets in a very pro-Knick crowd at Barclays Center. Extremely Knick-centric crowd. Listen, I think Brooklyn, and they don't have a first-round pick, so they can't even tank because they don't have their pick. I asked this question last week. I was hoping to see answers, but Cal Bridges playing better. But you start to see kind of Cam Johnson not hit shots. Cam Thomas is Cam Thomas. He's that streaky, one of the streakiest players in the NBA. Who do you trade from this team? Because I think that's what's coming now. I think the next 2 weeks in the trade deadline, the Nets are going to be a completely different looking team in 2 weeks. Who would you? I
think Von might get fired too.
No, it's too soon for that. That. Really?
You never know. First of all, if I was the Nets, I know this is going to sound crazy, but I would call the Knicks and be like, "Hey, listen, man, give us 2 number ones, 2 picks, Fournier, and maybe even Grimes, and let's run this New York Villanova thing to the full extent and bring Bridges on board. You know he wants to be there. He's sending out the smoke signals.
I don't even know what to say to that.
He's sending out the smoke signals.
Okay. Think seriously. Could that work?
I mean, in a AAU game, it'll work. Yeah, would it work?
Hold on.
OB at the 4, the Randall at the 5 a little bit, and have yeah, it could work.
Can we? I have the trade machine on. Can you trade picks in the trade machine, or is it just players? I don't think you could trade picks. I don't see it anywhere. No, you can't trade picks. So it's an interesting trade. So you're saying 2 first-round picks, Fournier, Grimes, straight up for Bridges. Bridges would be the only guy coming over.
Straight up, yep. Because the Nets need picks to try to.
Why can't we do draft picks? I'm so pissed now. You know what? I'm gonna do this trade machine. I'm gonna find a trade machine that actually works. I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna come back next week and see if it works, because we're still about 2 weeks out from the trade deadline, which will be on the air for the day of the trade deadline in 2 weeks. So our annual trade deadline recap, what the hell just happened, show.
Matter of fact,
where we're shocked about.
Since we're talking about that real quick, do you think the Nets and Knicks make a major trade that day by the trade deadline? I think yes, it's for both.
I think the Knicks have to make a trade. I think the OG trade was just kind of the beginning of what they had to do.
I agree.
Now, what kind of trade they make, what they give up, because it's their pick, and I think it's Dallas's pick is the 2 they have left, because they traded one away.
Right.
So it's one of those things where, the Dallas pick I think is still top 10 protected, and the Knicks pick is not going to be a high draft pick. So you have to sweeten the pot. I know they have a couple of trade exceptions from Obi and a couple other guys for like $6 million, so they can kind of sweeten the pot with that. But you would have to trade one or both of those picks, like you said, in the Bridges trade you just said, and you would have to package whatever you have left, which is not a lot. You have Fournier. Obviously you're not trading Miles McBride since you just signed him to a new extension.
Right.
Who else do you move? You don't have a lot of pieces. Besides, like I said, Grimes would be the most valuable piece, which is weird to say that they have player-wise left, because you traded RJ and you traded quickly. So I think Grimes might have to be the centerpiece of any trade with those 2 draft picks. Somebody's trade request in the chat. Randall and Fournier for Luka. What kind of 2K trade is that? That's a trade that you make and you override the CPU for not accepting the trade.
Pretty much.
I'm gonna do this anyway. Trade Randall for Ayton and Jeremy Grant. What do you think about that one, Portland?
First of all, why does everybody want to get rid of Randall?
People hate Randall.
I don't get it.
Listen, I still hate Julius Randle. I think Julius Randle might be. He works hard. He plays hard. God bless him. But if I see dude complain about another call and pout down the court and not get back on defense because he's still talking shit about the call that got missed,
right?
We gotta let this go. That's the problem right now. That's what I'm sick of him. Just like, I got fouled, and he's talking with the ref. The play is going on the other side of the court. He's still like talking. I'm like what are we doing? Randall is very. I've never seen. Have you think of another Knick player who was like this really polarizing player that people either really like or really don't like? Besides maybe Marbury.
Okay, yeah, Randall's worse than Marbury because Marbury can deal with it, but yeah, he's like straight sourpuss.
Yeah, all the damn time. Sam, he turns the ball over, and his lack of defense he makes dumb plays across near it. There you go.
You know what? I could deal with his lack of defense. It's the pouting I can't stand.
He pouts all the time. And the fans haven't forgotten about him pretty much shitting on him a couple years ago too.
Oh
The
yeah,
fans
yeah,
got a
yeah,
long
yeah.
memory because a couple years ago when so we're not stupid. We don't forget. We never forget. I also remember when Francisco Lindor and Javi Baez did the thumbs down for us.
Yeah,
And
yep.
I hate them. I still don't like Lindor to this day.
Yeah.
That's my dad right here. They're not trading Randall. He's a versatile big man that gives you a regular double-double. I will say this, and I'm probably out of place talking about this because I talked to my dad about this. Who just made this comment.
Mm-hmm.
My dad got rid of cable. He doesn't really watch the Knicks because obviously MSG is not on YouTube TV. He got the core, blah, 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 blah. So he watched them on Christmas Day, and he sent me a text. He's like, I see what you're talking about. I'm like, I've been telling you this for 2 years. Randall is a good player, but he could be a complete piece of shit and just wear you down.
He's a good number. He's a good number 3, not a great number 1 or 2.
No, not even. No, I agree. Not even a 2. He's a third option. Because when that ball, I'm at the point of.
I was gonna say what I like what the Knicks have done with the roster is like he's no longer he's no longer a detriment to the offense. Well, like they got great players around him, so and the little things that like Obi does or like Hart, how he's a hustler for the rebound. Same thing with DiVincenzo. It's like a lot of these other guys, they make up for the lack of intensity that Randall would bring.
So Brunson. Example, right? I'm curious about your answer. Brunson fouls out. You're down by 1. You got 6 seconds.
Randall's not taking the shot. Randall's not taking that shot.
That's my question.
Wait,
here's the floor.
With anyone. Okay.
Wait. I'm going to set the floor up, and I'm not taking injuries into account. So these are some guys who are injured who's not going to be. DiVincenzo, Grimes, OG. Actually, no. Okay. DiVincenzo, Hart, OG, Randall, Mitch. Who of those 5 are you letting say? Obviously, it's not Mitch, so we can disqualify Mitch Robinson. Of those 4, who are you saying you're setting the play up for this player?
Grimes.
Oh, that was DiVincenzo?
No. Oh, I think Grimes. If you set the pick for Grimes, absolutely. But I'm not. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Grimes.
Interesting.
Thank you.
Grimes as well. I got Grimes. I have from Earl. I have another one. Wait, I gotta bring this up. OG's taking that shot.
He's got to get the ball. He's not gonna touch the ball.
And Bruce, of course, always just very pithy. Not Randall. Perfect answer. Not Randall. Ever done. Not happening. So next Thursday we get the reserves for the All-Star team, which Brunson will definitely be on. So you'll see Jalen Brunson playoffs in the All-Star game. Randall, maybe
he might make it. I think he might make it.
Possibly. Well, back to the Knicks. I'm gonna talk about them since the OG trade. And listen, I had my doubts about this trade because I was literally like, what are they doing? It seems like a lateral move. OG's a good defensive player. I'm not gonna say 3 and D because that phrase gets just played out.
Agreed.
But I feel like the trade bringing him, but also I think Precious Achiuwa coming over, that made a big help too, especially with the lack of depth we have now that Robinson's out, Isaiah Hartenstein's out now. So now we have Achiuwa's a little undersized for center, but he's a big body and big broad body. I think this trade was a lot better than I thought it was. Are you surprised at how good it's going? I think it's like 10-3 since the trade. Or
I'm surprised how quickly they meshed.
Something like this.
No, I was expecting good things.
I was
expecting this. I wasn't expecting it to be this good, but they meshed pretty quickly. You saw it in the first game. Obi, first of all, how did Obi play almost 40 minutes in his first game as a Knick? That was crazy. But it seemed like it goes back to being Tim guys. These seem like Tim kind of guys, and he's going to ride him until they can't ride him no more. But the Knicks went into the trade without really having a bench in terms of like in the front court. Now they kind of have they got depth now. So I like what I'm seeing, and I still think they're gonna get 50 wins. By the way.
Yeah, I don't see that 50 happening. I really don't. I'm bullish about this team until I see what they do in 2 weeks. If they stay pat, we're looking 5 or 6 seed. I think they need another score. I think losing quickly kind of hurt them. And it doesn't have to be a starter, but they definitely need someone to come off the bench and that can score 20 points when they need 20 points off the bench. That's one thing they're really, really missing. Someone that can Vinnie Johnson it up a little bit with, at different points of the quarters.
Right.
I want to switch to WNBA because, I'm paying attention to a free agency now because it's getting a little crazy based on things I'm hearing and what I'm seeing. The good news, and Bruce ain't gonna like this. Jonquel Jones is expected to stay with Liberty. So you're going to have Breonna Stewart. You're going to have Vandersloot washed up. And you're going to have Jonquel Jones. Actually, look, we got a question in chat. I want to get your thought on this. You guys think Atlanta asking too much for the monster for Murray for the Knicks?
What's that?
Probably. I feel like they're going to ask for like a first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I won't say they asked too much, but it's one of those. It's he's a LeBron. He's not LeBron, but he's with Rich Paul, right?
I think so. Yeah.
And I think Rich Paul does not want to do business with the Knicks because of the whole CAA thing. So I think because of that, they would
not Randall. Sorry. Does Murray make the Knicks a substantially better team now? That's my question.
For
what they're asking for, it seems like a lot.
The thing is he's a guy that you don't make that trade unless you think you have enough pieces in play to go for a championship. Like, you're not going to give up for all that asset for that guy. You're going to hold that hope to one of these disgruntled superstars come available in this offseason. So I think I would stick with a plan. See, if Danny Ainge wasn't Danny Ainge, I would go to him and be like, hey, listen, we'll give you Fournier, a first rounder, run us Clarkson. But that's who I think the Knicks need another score off the bench. I'm not giving up everything.
Jordan Clarkson, really?
You wouldn't take him in the quickly role right now? As Quickly's replacement. Coming off the bench.
Jordan Clark. Here's the difference between Clarkson and Quickly. Quickly was really willing to pass the ball. Clarkson gets heat checky and just start Raymanning it and think he's going to hit everything.
And that's why you got tips to reel him in.
When he's on, Jordan Clarkson is one of the best bench guards in the league. When he's off, it is depressing to watch Jordan Clarkson play basketball. Because you're going to have a 2 for 14 Jordan Clarkson night. And you'll be like, what are we doing? And you're going to have a 35-point Jordan Clarkson night. And you're going to be like, what are we doing? What's the end game? What are we trying to pull off now? That's my issue with Jordan Clarkson. You just don't know what the hell you're going to do from night to night with him. Knicks don't move in. Lakers going to swoop in. Lakers don't have the pieces. The Lakers,
they don't got no pieces.
Don't have a lot. Unless you trade Russell for Murray trade, which doesn't seem smart for Atlanta because Russell and Trey play the same position.
Exactly.
So interesting.
I think Atlanta might have to. I think Atlanta might have to tone down what they want.
I mean, if you're the Knicks, you say we got 2 first-round picks. Pick one. You can take our pick, or you can take Dallas's top 10 protected pick. You have to take Fournier. That would be like a condition. You have to get him off the books and get him out of here. And would you Jericho Sims? Would you make Jericho Sims part of the trade? Because he has some value.
Yeah. You know what? I have to think about it. Because when Hartenstein come back, Yeah, he's going to be on the bench anyway. So yeah.
I'm just gonna put this up. I'm not gonna say the comment. I'm just gonna put it up so you can see it because I think this is a.
Wow. Wow.
All right, I think we're done. Game over. All right, back to WNBA. So Elaine Deladon, Candace Parker, free agents. Aneka Ukumake said she's not returning to Sparks. Jordan Candidate was designated as a core player for the Sparks, but now wants to be traded. So it could be a sign and trade for the Sparks. There's gonna be a lot of free agent movement in WNBA. Should the Liberty, and obviously they're not. I think salary cap wise for WNBA, I think they're kind of strapped.
Right.
If you're the Liberty GM, Jonathan Kolb, would you run it back with the team you have, or do you say we got to get the bench a little better? Because they got to the finals. Let's put it out there. Right. They got to the finals. They beat Vegas in the Commissioner's Cup, so obviously they know how to beat Vegas. They did it.
Right.
Would you run it back?
I think you kind of have to, because if anything, Vegas showed you that your lack, consistency and unity. That's probably what caused them to, falter down the stretch. So a little bit more playing time together, I think that'd be fine. If you could strengthen the bench a little bit, go for it. But I don't think there's a move out there to be made for them.
I have a player who I think coming off the Liberty bench would add something to Benijah Laney come off the bench and pair her up with her.
Okay.
Skylar Diggins-Smith is a free agent. She didn't play last year. She was on training leave.
She didn't play last year.
Do you think Diggins coming off the Liberty bench, adding some more points to that bench and adding a dimension that maybe you could put her and Sabrina Ionescu together with a John Cole Jones, Breanna Stewart, Vandersloot, maybe, because she's kind of washed up. That could be an interesting kind of last 4-minute lineup for the Liberty, and you get a lot of points. Defensively, you're going to lose something. But you're going to outscore every team in the league with that lineup.
I like that. I like that depth killer lineup. That might work.
I'm curious about the league itself, because you see the growth. The ratings were really high last year. People are kind of starting to care a little bit about it. I'm not saying that they're going to get millions of viewers. I think they're going to get that eventually. I think we're a few years from millions of viewers of WNBA. But I'm curious about this movement, because I think a lot of these players are realizing that, you know what? Elena Deladon knows she's not winning a title with the Mystics.
Right.
Candace Parker's like, you know what? I got one more run left in me. I won a title in Vegas. Technically. I won a title in Chicago. Maybe I'd run it back someplace else. I think a lot of players are starting to look at their situations and going like, I want to win. Who's the best team that's going to compete against the Liberty, against the Aces to get me that title? Because titles are few and far between in this league now.
You know where I see Candace going? Connecticut.
You think so?
I can see you going Connecticut. She's what they're missing.
They do need the help. I think. Oh, where is it? Breonna Jones is going back, and DeWanna Bonner is going back too. So that'll be interesting with Jones, Bonner, and Parker as like a front line.
Right. I
would actually kind of like that. Bruce says she wants to stay on the West Coast. Listen, you want a ring? You'll travel for a few months. You can go home. you could charter your own flight, because God forbid they don't charter flights in the WNBA still. To this,
she's all right. She got that turn of money on the side.
That didn't happen. That is true. That is very true. She doesn't have a turn of money. I'm gonna move to college because I'm giddy. I'm just giddy because Kentucky lost. I believe it was South Carolina. And Jason and I have been doing the show for 7 years, 8 years, give or take.
About 7, 8. Yep.
And Jason knows my hatred of John Calipari. I think he's a scumbag. I think he's a dirty coach. I think the whole go to the NBA. I'm looking out for the players. It's about them. How can I take care of you and your mom? That's all bullshit. I think he's a piece of shit. But when Kentucky loses, and you see the post game press conference of Calipari, and he just kind of throws his team under the bus a little bit every press conference. No one really talks about it. He does it real subtly. So you've been watching Calipari press conferences for years. You kind of know his tells. Right. And he kind of throws his guys under the bus and blames them, not his shitty coaching, not his shitty adjustments, not his shitty stick on the line of yelling, screaming like a goddamn psycho. Is there any other coach, whether it be pro, college, Christ the King high school, I don't know, that you get joy from seeing lose games? Because I feel like I'm a weirdo for being so happy when Kentucky loses, and I don't want to be alone in that feeling.
You know what? It was Patino until he came to St. John's.
You softened up for Patino.
Yeah, I was like, he's in New York now. I liked him when he was a
come on. I'm so disappointed in you. I'm so disappointed in you.
That's the only one I can think of. Who else?
Kim Mulkey. I think that's a good one too. Although I like her. I like Angel Reese. I love Angel Reese. I love her team. I know my wife has a couple former students in her school in the Bronx that plays on LSU now. So I root for the players.
Wait, what is that? Is that
Kim Mulkey's turning to John Calipari for me a little bit.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think Kim Mulkey. And I'm pretty sure Kim Mulkey has used the N-word with a hard R a couple times in her life. She looks like the type.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, she looks the type.
For sure.
I think she's definitely done that.
For sure.
We're going to get sued now. So top 25 AP for men: UConn, Purdue, North Carolina, and Houston, and then Tennessee rounds it out. Kentucky 6. They're going to drop because of the loss. I watched Florida Atlantic. They're on Fox 2 weeks ago, and they're on ESPN not too long ago. Obviously, they made the runs for Final Four. How close are we for a mid-major team actually winning the NCAA tournament? Because I think Florida Atlantic had that really good mix. I saw them when I covered the Sweet 16 Elite 8. They have a really good inside game. They have a really good outside game. They get really balanced, and it just seems like they were the closest mid-major team to win the tournament. Are we any closer to a team kind of overcoming the fact that they're mid-major and beating the majors? I know St. Peter's got close. I know FDU got their win locally against Purdue. Are we going to finally see one of these mid-major teams from like the MAC or from Conference USA or the American win the title?
It seems like we're getting closer. Each year we're getting closer and closer for that to happen. So I'm going to say yes. Will it happen this year? Not too sure. But in the next few years, it wouldn't surprise me.
So Bruce is bragging about North Carolina in the chat. 15-3 right now. Listen, I think both of us kind of laughed at Bruce last week. Oh, really?
I don't think they're better than UConn.
Ooh. So that's Big East versus ACC. I like that. It's spicy. Is the Big East kind of weak a little bit? I feel like we talked about Seton Hall last week, and they've lost 2 games in a row. St. John's is first year Patino, so they're going to be a little sketchy. I think Creighton's always consistently a 2022 win team. Villanova's kind of found their stride with Kyle Neptune, the coach. But besides UConn, Nova, Creighton, you could maybe make Marquette 4, but Marquette's really looked up and down this year.
Right.
Is UConn going to be a product of the Big East having kind of a down year and a lot of new coaches and guys getting adjusted to the Big East style of play? Because I do feel like the Big East, and we talked up the Big East last week, and then this last week after the show, they look like complete garbage. And obviously they're beating up on each other. Yeah, and they're beating up on each other, but you've seen Marquette lose, Seton Hall lose.
Right.
Villanova has a couple of really bad losses. I just feel like UConn might be a product of they're going to win 30 games, but because they're playing the Big East, where you have 3 really, really good teams, and then you have the rest who are average and kind of middle of the road.
Right. But I would say, I don't want to say they're a byproduct of that. You know what? It kind of goes back to the Minnesota Timberwolves situation where like their record is because the bottom of the West is pretty bad, the bottom of the East is pretty bad. They beat up on a lot of teams, so it could be an inflated stat, but I still think UConn's a good team, regardless.
So the last question about college basketball, and I've been doing my research on Overtime Elite more because I've been very curious about Overtime Elite and what they do. There's a Real Sports story. Shout out to Real Sports, who no longer does shows anymore. Last year about what they do, the idea of Overtime Elite, and then you have the G League Ignite team, and the Ignite team just seems to suck every year. They're not a good team.
Why is that?
I don't know. Like, you're getting the best high school talent, and then you're mixing it with pros. Like, I remember the first year of it, you had Jaren Jack on the team with young guys. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Right.
You're not seeing success from Ignite. Overtime Elite is just a glorified social media basketball team, essentially. That's what they're made for. Are we going to start seeing more players go to college, especially with the NIL situation and guys just getting thrown buckets of money legally sometimes? Because I feel like we're going to swing back to guys like, I'll do 2 years of college and make, $500,000 and play some ball.
Absolutely. That, you know what? I'll even go a step further. Because of the lack of American talent, like, American level, like household names, I think it might be best, like, hey, the first 2 years you stay in school, make a name for yourself, grab the NIL money, and then look at the pros. I think we're probably trending towards that direction. Especially, like, you look at this year's upcoming draft. They say it's one of the weakest drafts in years. And I'm not even going to say, I'm not even going to agree with them because I just don't know because I haven't watched enough college ball to know. But I think if you look at it, if you look at how things are going that way, maybe you do go to school, get some of that money, and develop your name. So then, therefore, come draft time, we know who you are.
And it's funny because the Atlantic, the Athlantic's another magazine. The Athletic has like their college sports guide, the NBA draft guide. I think it was the Atlantic. Okay. Was the Athletic or the Ringer? One of those two have a guide. And there's a quote.
Probably both. Probably both.
Yeah. There was a quote from someone saying, this year's upcoming draft is like going to a steakhouse and realizing that they have no more steak.
Wow.
And I'm like,
I don't think that. I've never experienced that.
I hope to never experience that, actually. I don't want that in my life. But it's funny because, the NIL deals, and Sammy put it in the chat, you can make as much doing NILs in college than you do for Ignite. Remember Ignite? That was the draw for G League Ignite.
That was the draw.
Come here, you can make $500,000 and learn from NBA old coaches and assistants and stuff like that. Now you can go to a school like a St. John's and learn from Rick Pitino. I'm like, I would rather learn from Rick Pitino than learn from the 8th assistant coach of the Oklahoma City Thunder who sits behind the bench, not even in the front of the bench, but behind the bench.
Pretty much, yep.
So I'm very curious about how this is going to work, and the NCAA is still trying to figure it out, and they're still going to screw this up somehow because that's what they do, and they're going to put the fingers in it because they're already like trying to figure out rules and regulations and how to police it. And I'm like, here you go, they're going to fuck this up because they always do. Real quick update on the games in progress right now. 98-78, Utah up by 20 on the Wizards. Wizards streaking to that number 1 draft pick, maybe. Indiana, 95-70 over the Sixers. They're in the third quarter. At the half, the Knicks up by 21 on the Nuggets at the Garden at the half as well. Boston up 13 on Miami. 60-48, Minnesota up on the Nets. Big shocker there. At 10 o'clock, Sacramento visits Golden State. And at 10:30, Chicago visits the Lakers. So that'll be a Laker win, probably. Most unlikely without Zach LaVine. So last topic, and I want to talk wrestling real quick. I don't know if you heard about the Vince McMahon text.
him and Brock. Him and Brock. That's all I gotta say. Him and Brock.
Listen, I was at work, and I work with children, and I kind of I check my phone during the day. When the kids are working, I'm checking my phone, see what's going on,
Right.
and I opened X and saw an excerpt of one of the text messages that was in the lawsuit, and immediately turned my phone off because I felt very uncomfortable for that 5 seconds I looked at it. Vince is no longer with TKO, WWE, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
Does this tarnish everything he's done up to this point? Because it seems like he's done. He's finished. And I feel like this is going to be his final act. Not going to sunset, making a whole bunch of money with a publicly traded company, the UFC, but instead being part of a sex scandal and apparently pooping on a woman's head during foreplay.
Damn it, Vince. You created WrestleMania. You're supposed to go out better than this.
Create Hulk Hogan. Come on.
I feel
Not
horrible.
you, Vince.
I feel horrible for Triple H. He gotta explain to his wife he's nothing like him.
Well, someone put on I keep saying Twitter, Twitter. It was like, I guess there was a SmackDown backstage segment where Stephanie talks about how Vince used to pawn her off on all of his old friends. And I'm like, wow, that really hit home today.
With life
Like that.
are.
Oh my god, that segment seems very uncomfortable watching it now. Listen, I know Ninja Page was going on. Thanks for watching. Listen, and the last topic on WWE.
TKO, they had to be pissed.
Oh yeah, look, you knew this was coming because the feds raided Vince's house, and you had these lawsuits, and you knew a ball was going to drop eventually, and this was it, and they kept the proof. They kept that proof. So,
Literally,
good on this lady for keeping everything, because you got the proof now of what happened.
Yep.
AEW drew 3,000 people last night. I'm not going to panic because everyone on Twitter's like, they drew nothing. They're in Savannah, Georgia. It was in a small market. It was a rinky-dink town. It's like coming to my town and putting on a wrestling show at the gym. It's going to get better. They just figured out their the COO situation. So before Bruce shits on AEW, it's going to get better. It's going to be okay. I'm confident.
All right.
After WrestleMania. because I'm getting intrigued. I'm not to the point of watching Raw for 3 hours on Mondays, but I am getting intrigued about where they can go, because there's a report that came out that Cody might not finish his story now. And I'm like, crap. Here we go. Not gonna be good for anybody. And then it's gonna be Punk Cody instead of Cody Roman. So I don't. They said the report was false, and that was them kind of spreading misinformation on purpose to kind of.
You know why
That's what they said.
Because that when I saw Gunther versus Seth, that makes a lot of sense. When I saw Cody versus Punk, I was like, this is something Tony should have did, but he didn't. Why not run it? And if we're really going Rock versus Roman, then we gotta start building towards that. So I think that's probably the 3 mega matches we're gonna see.
Okay, Bruce. Savannah is not the same as Atlanta. 2 completely different places. Yeah. That's like Midtown Manhattan and Long Island City.
I was gonna say Ithaca.
That's even worse. Like what?
It's
like oh my god, what school? There's a school up near Syracuse that's not Syracuse. It's Lemoyne. They're in the NEC with FDU and other schools. So I'm like, so you're in Syracuse as well. and no one knows who you are because you're in. So it's like, oh, I'm going to Syracuse. Oh, you are? Oh no, I'm going to go to school in Syracuse. I'm going to Lemoyne, and people are like, damn, you tricked me. Damn you. But I have faith in AEW. Forget you, Bruce. Jason, as always, great show, bro.
Likewise.
So we'll be back next Thursday night. One Podcast Network. Sebastian Maniscalco, Live Free and Laugh Hard. That's going to be out this weekend. Me and Tom talk about our likes and dislikes of Sebastian Maniscalco. Thomas is currently in Ireland, so you will actually see Tom on YouTube live as we do Live Free and Laugh Hard while he's overseas, hanging out over there. Hopefully I can get there soon. That's the plan. I can go visit and maybe do a live show from Ireland. Live Free and Laugh Hard. That'd be fun. So I would love that. So for Jason and Bruce and everybody in the chat, Ninja Page, John, Sammy, all y'all, thank you so much for watching. I'm Kahlil Thomas Rashid. Next Thursday night, Bruce, we're back every Thursday, bruh. Next Thursday night here on the One Podcast Network YouTube channel. Peace.
Peace.